morning, and welcome to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com. And we welcome you to the WHTC Talk of the Town program for this Thursday, May the 7th. I'm Gary Stevens. We'll have a sliver of open line time following the 10 o'clock news. Patty Vandenberg will be in about an hour with what's new around Holland. And we'll be joined in our third half hour, a little after 10:30, by Vern Blaukamp of the Holland VFW Post. And a little after 11, Sarah Tonkerson will be joining us in the studio. We'll have the Wellspring program from Spectrum Health Zeeland Community Hospital. But our first half hour on this first Thursday of the month, we focus on the city of Holland with the city manager, Keith Van Beek. He joins us via a Zoom connection today. Keith, good morning. Glad you are with us.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me, Gary.
Glad to have you with us today. And if you have a question for Keith, no, you can't join the Zoom connection, but you can certainly call us at 395-1450, 395-1450. You know, it's really a shame, Keith, and I'll be honest with you. It's a shame that we're talking today, A, separately, B, you not in Dutch costume, and C, because we don't have the music parade today. How funny is it to not have, well, we have people around town, but not have a lot of people here because of no Tulip Time Festival? How strange is it to you?
Yeah, it is very strange. I have lots of friends and family that are disappointed also that they don't get to get pictures of me in a Dutch costume, because for anyone that knows me, they know that I like to kind of needle and give people a hard time, and people like to return that favor to me too. But yeah, it is. I mean, there's an amount of grief that's going on in the community, right? That just such an important tradition for the community, and we're just not able to have that this year. So, but it's the right thing to do, Gary. But there is grief involved.
How disappointed? I want to say you as terms of City Hall overall, that the mayor's message from last week, don't come this year because we don't have the capabilities of putting a lot of people together to make sure there's social distancing. How disappointed are you that perhaps a few too many people are not heeding that message right now?
Yeah, it was a really hard message to send, right? And working really even more closely with the mayor over these last many weeks now, I know how disappointing that was that he had to give that message. We're monitoring everything very closely. You know, I think we certainly more so than most, but we've seen situations across the nation and across the world where, you know, maybe people came out too quickly and then it caused some other problems. So we certainly didn't want to have that situation here. It's been uncomfortable at times, Gary, as I drive around town and see the number of people, and maybe seeing, you know, little sporadic places where maybe people weren't wearing masks or weren't keeping socially distanced as much as would make me more comfortable. But for the most part, I think local people are doing the right things where they're out and they're able to enjoy this beautiful town in our beautiful parks, and yet doing it responsibly.
I'm going to throw a little humorous thing in for a moment, Keith Van Beek. I read a story last week. I believe it was in Sweden, to try to keep people away from congregating at a popular park. Local officials dumped about a ton or two of chicken waste at the park to keep them away. The people living near there had to live with the smell, but they said, hey, you know, we got to do it. We got to do it. And I said, don't say that too loud to Keith Van Beek and the people in the city of Holland. They might want to do that around the tulips. No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that won't be happening, Gary. I think that would cause a whole new firestorm, and I enjoy my job too much to do something like that.
Certainly that, but it does put a serious question about the fact that, yeah, part of the city budget, maybe it's not an overwhelming part of the city budget, Keith, but a good part of the city budget, by getting the bulbs in from the mother country on an annual basis. You want to change them up and, get the freshest blooms possible, because there is no festival this year, because there's not going to be that extra revenue coming in. The mayor says the bulbs will be back next year, but there's got to be some tough decisions being made, because we're not celebrating the 91st Tulip Time Festival this year right now.
Yeah, so we're in a position where we're not trying to make big, huge, long-term decisions right now when we're still in the midst of things and we don't have all good information yet. So when I presented the budget last week, this is a budget that we're going to have to amend more than normal. But Gary, one thing that you raised there that I want to make clear too, other than Windmill Island Gardens, there isn't really this direct, like, boy, the city makes money off Tulip Time correlation. We are certainly very aware and celebrate the fact that the larger community and, that there's this huge economic impact of Tulip Time, but it's not a direct correlation impact on the city budget other than Windmill Island Gardens. And we're just so pleased that the staff there, led by Matt Helmus, we've just had several really good years and really good management out there, where it's not a situation that it used to be where we had to subsidize Windmill Island Garden every year. It's a situation out there right now where they have a fund balance where we can weather this year and not have to overreact and make these drastic changes. So when we talk about that, in a more direct way in the metaphor that the tulips will bloom again next spring, the tulips will bloom again next spring, Gary, and we're excited about that. And now we're working with the larger community so that more metaphorically, the tulips will bloom again next year, Gary, and we're excited to look forward to that hope of next year.
395-1450. If you wish to have a comment, you can join in and chat with Holland City Manager Keith Van Beek. Good morning. You're on the line with the City Manager.
Good morning. I was just wondering, of course, I probably know the answer. They're not going to have any of the concerts like at the at the Collins Park this year, Friday night, correct?
Yeah, so what we're trying, thanks for the call and thanks for the question. We are, like a lot of things through this process, as I look back, man, it's been 2 months that I've been dealing with this. We're trying not to reach out too far into the future and just shut down everything. But I think you're right that at least, I think we're looking at announcing that the concerts through May and starting in June, probably aren't going to go, but I don't think we're at the position that we're canceling everything for the entire summer at this point. We want to continue to just monitor this, stay in contact with primarily our county health officials, and make the right decisions at the right times, but try not to do them too early either.
Good morning. You're on the line with Holland City Manager Keith Van Beek.
Okay, my question is, since you were not going to have, what about using the Civic Center outdoors to have the concert? Civic Center parking lot.
Could the Civic Center parking lot be an option, Keith?
Yeah, so I think we'll take a look at everything, but of course, for example, one of the concerts that's so popular, right, is the American Legion Band. And right now, the American Legion Band getting together, particularly, and I'm not poking fun at anyone, but there's a lot of wonderful people with maybe some graying hair in the American Legion Band. So, part of the concert series, right, is that them all playing in close proximity would not be recommended right now either. But we're going to look at any options because we know, right, we're all living it, there's this urge to kind of come back and gather as a community again. So when that's safe to do so, we're gonna look at all creative options that we can to try to encourage that, but most importantly, do that safely. Thanks for the
thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the call. 395-1450, 395-1450. If you wish to get into the conversation with Holland City Manager Keith Van Beek. Good morning. You're on the line with Holland City Manager Keith Van Beek.
Yes, I was just wondering, I don't know if anybody asked this question, but are you thinking what's going to happen with the tulip dig, to dig out tulips?
Tulip dig.
Yeah, great question. I don't think we've come to a final decision on that yet. And part of that, again, is that would be kind of a large group of people all coming together. So stay tuned. I'm not aware that we've made a decision on that yet.
Okay, that is your question.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the call. 395-1450, 395-1450. Quick technical note, the way that Zoom sometimes captures the way we get audio into the computer, which gets it over to Keith sometimes. I try to boost the volume. It might sound loud on the radio, but Keith's trying to listen to our conversation, so I'm trying to help him along those lines as well. You mentioned this a little bit earlier, Keith, about the fact that the budget is almost ready to be voted on. Next Wednesday is the mandatory meeting to take care of that. When I chatted earlier this week with your counterpart in Zeeland, Tim Clunder, he was mentioning the fact that most of the work for his budget was done prior to what happened in March with the COVID-19 situation. What about your budget? And you sort of alluded to it a little bit right now, is because it's going to have to be a little bit of a flexible situation because of the fact that this pandemic is going to have a bite on city revenues and city expenses.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Thanks for that question. It's certainly something now that we're shifting into spending a lot more attention on rather than just the immediate of the coronavirus. Very similar to Zeeland, I'm sure the vast majority of work on budget was done before the coronavirus emerged. We are taking the position here in the city where instead of me trying to make vast changes to the budget based upon really inaccurate information at this point, trying to predict different things that we just don't know what the impact will be. I am recommending a budget that council acts on a budget that was based on pre-coronavirus, but being very clear in that we're tracking very closely both short-term and, quite frankly, I'm more concerned about the longer-term impacts. Just the way that the municipal funding model works is quite often the impacts lag for us. So I'm concerned about this for kind of multiple years coming. And I suspect that we're going to have a budget this next year, Gary, where we typically have some points in the year where we make recommendation and council would consider making amendments to the budget. We're pretty confident that we're going to be opening up that budget more consistently as we go through the year and then making decisions based upon better information as things merge in the various ways that this will impact us all.
Keith, I want to touch upon a situation that happened last week with some high water that was having issues on South Shore Drive as well as on the causeway to Windmill Island Gardens. We talk about stay home, stay safe and COVID-19, but the high water situation isn't going away anytime soon.
No, absent of the coronavirus, the high water situation probably would have been one of the more pressing issues of the decade, right? Yeah, we had water, I believe it was the last Monday night, that at one point we estimate was probably 5 or 6 inches over the causeway going out to Windmill Island Garden, which for those that have been around and working out at the gardens forever, that was the highest they had even remotely ever seen it. So it's not just South Shore Drive, Gary. Any of the water, the larger watershed connected from Lake Michigan into Lake Macatawa, lot of impacts. So we're monitoring that closely, doing what we can, but of course, water wins, Gary. So we're pretty limited in how we can totally, hold back that water when we have those flash situations.
Good morning. You're on the line with Holland City Manager Keith Van Beek.
Good morning. I would like to find out what would be your suggestion on how to handle a neighbor who missed the spring cleanup, and they missed it by about 2-3 weeks, and now has a pile of lawn debris in their yard out by the road. I just wonder, do your city workers come through and take note of that, and then maybe a nice letter is sent out to the homeowner, or what would you suggest? I'll hang up and listen.
All right. Thank you very much for the call, Keith.
Yeah, so I would give two options. The first option, and I get that sometimes those neighbor situations, can get a little tenuous, but the first option is there are still the pickups that are going on, but we also have Project Pride coupons, so people can take not only kind of their typical debris, but there's the ability to bring that out to the transfer station that Republic operates. And we are issuing those Project Pride coupons for someone that maybe doesn't purchase those curbside recycling. The other thing is, and a lot of people still miss, it's still a very skeleton crew here at City Hall. So there's a lot of staff that we have that are not essential under the stay-at-home order. So the reality is that we do not have code enforcement people out doing enforcement and sending letters, as you indicated, which is correct. We're just not able to have those people in working right now. So that might be a little bit before we would have that tool available to us.
Again, if you have a question for Keith Van Beek, you'll take it at 395-1450, 395-1450. Do want to let people or remind people that we unfortunately didn't have Sally Lakaitis joining us today for our Destination Downtown segment. She was not available. But one of the things that I probably would have buttonholed her with, but I'll buttonhole you with, Keith Van Beek, is 2 new websites Downtown Holland has launched to make it easier for customers to shop online and order takeout from their favorite Downtown Holland businesses during the COVID-19 restrictions. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, just really pleased and proud of our staff at the DDA and the Downtown Development Authority and the Principal Shopping District that support all of the great business owners downtown. Certainly don't have to describe how it's been a really challenging time for those business owners. So remotely, that staff has been working and have put together www.downtownholland.com. That's www.downtownholland.com. And they've just put together a real clean, crisp, professional, easy to use site where people can either figure out how to do takeout or for restaurants, but also to take a look at how you can remotely and safely do some curbside ordering and pickup of other retailers. So take a look at that. We're certainly in conversations and in partnership with those owners downtown to try to figure out when things start opening up, how can we do that well and safely? But in the meantime, look at downtownholland.com to support those important businesses.
Good morning. You're on the line with Holland City Manager Keith Van Beek. Let's get to a line that has actually somebody on it. Good morning. You're on the line with Holland City Manager Keith Van Beek.
Yeah, hi. In regards to like ordering takeout from restaurants, if people at all can order direct from the restaurant and pick it up themselves, or maybe have the restaurant deliver if they offer it, to avoid Uber Eats and Grubhub, they take a sizable portion, but they get a commission, I would say, off of the sales. So to help those restaurants even more, go pick it up yourself. Don't make somebody else bring it to you unless it's the restaurant delivering it themselves. So that's just a tip. It'll put a little more money in the pocket of the restaurants that are struggling right now.
I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. And yeah, it's nice to have that convenience for the Uber. But then again, keep in mind also, we got local people handling Uber and these third-party deliveries as well. You got to support them too.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm not a real big social media guy, Gary, but I'm trying to do it now just to, in support of our local restaurants. And I've seen some people do, which I think is a really cool thing, go out, have your curbside pickup, tip heavily, and then maybe just take a picture and post on social media where you had dinner or lunch that day from a local business. And it's just one more thing to kind of remind people to support local.
Good morning. You're on the line with Holland City Manager Keith Van Beek.
It's nice to have that convenience for the Uber, but then again, keep in mind also, we got local people handling Uber and these third-party deliveries as well. You got to support them.
We got somebody who was listening a little bit earlier again. We are on a delay, so please keep that in mind when you do call us. One final thing, Keith, and then we'll button things up for this segment. Wednesday, the start of the Holland Farmers Market season. At least that's not being delayed, shall we say?
Yeah, so staff has done a fantastic job and working through with our vendors where we are going to open up on May 13th, barring any other kind of changes or anything out there. I guess that's always kind of out there potentially. But very much there's guidelines attached. If you go to hollandfarmersmarket.com, that will lay out kind of the different experience that you'll have to come out. But we certainly are eager to have that, but we're also cautious where we want to make sure that we do that in a safe way. And again, I think there is that itch, right, of people want to get out and kind of return to some sense of normalcy. But certainly, as our Ottawa County Health Department has put out there, we need to do that safely, folks. We just continue to encourage people to support local, come out to the farmers market, but follow the guidelines, please.
Holland City Manager Keith Van Beek, I want to thank you very much for joining us this morning on WHTC's Talk of the Town through the Zoom connection. We will put a link to cityofholland.com, which is the city's official website. You can get more information on what is going on in the City of Holland on the official side. And we'll have the podcast. We'll put the link to that when we put the audio podcast on our website at WHTC.com. And we'll put the video of our conversation with Keith on our Facebook page, 99.7 and 1450 WHTC, a little bit later on today. Keith, as always, we thank you very much for your time and for your thoughts, and wish you and all of the staff well over the next month. And hopefully we'll get together again, if not in person, via the Zoom connection next month. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks to everyone.
That is Keith Van Beek, the Holland City Manager on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC. CBS News is next on the hour.